"Don't jump," said a struggling single dad pulling the girl from the bridge. She turned out to be a millionaire's daughter. Rain slashed sideways across the Brooklyn Bridge, carried by a wind that howled like a wounded thing. Street lights flickered, dim by fog. Midnight had drowned the city in silver-gray shadows. Liam Carter tightened his grip on the small bundled figure in his arms. Emma, his 2-year-old daughter, lay against his chest, sound asleep, protected beneath the only dry thing he owned, his coat, wrapped tightly around her. His own shirt clung to his skin, soaked and freezing. He trudged through the downpour, head bowed against the wind. His shift had run late again. Another long walk home. Another night fighting to stay afloat. Then he saw her. At first, just a blur at the far edge of the bridge. A shape against the storm. A woman standing on the outer railing, barefoot, arms slightly out, dress clinging to her frame like a ghost skin. His pulse spiked. She was going to jump. Liam broke into a sprint, the weight of Emma jostling against his ribs. "Hey," he yelled, his voice torn away by the wind. "No, wait." The girl turned her head just as her foot slipped. She fell forward. Liam lunged. His hand closed around her wrist just in time. The momentum yanked him forward. His knee slammed into the iron railing with a sick crack, and he almost lost his grip. Emma cried out, jostled and afraid. Liam twisted, shielding her again as he struggled to hold on. The girl screamed, dangling above the churning river below, her other arm flailing, her hair whipped around her face, her soaked dress clinging like ice. Liam gritted his teeth, rain blinding him. His fingers slipped slightly, her skin was slick, the rain relentless. "Don't let go," he shouted, she cried out. "I can't. Your grip." "I've got you," he said, his breath labored, voice trembling with effort. "Just don't move." She started to struggle, panicked, kicking instinctively. Each movement jerked her arm, loosened his hold. "Stop." Liam gasped. "You're slipping. I didn't want this. I didn't mean to," she sobbed. "It's okay. I've got you. Please don't fight me." His arms burned. His knees ached. Rainwater ran down his face, into his eyes, his mouth. He couldn't breathe. "Listen to me," he said, voice breaking with fatigue. "You don't have to do this. You don't have to end it here." Her hand began to slide in his. "No, no," he hissed. "Not yet, please." He risked everything, tightened his grip on Emma with one arm, and with the other dragged the girl up an inch, then another. She slipped again, screamed, sobbed. "Keep trying," he begged. "Don't stop. Don't give up. You don't know what I've lost." She choked out. "I have no one. I'm done pretending." "I know pain," Liam said, his voice strained. "I know the feeling of being hollow. I've lived it every day." Her hand trembled in his, nearly free. "I lost my wife," he said. "I watched her die. I held our baby in one arm and watched my world burn down with the other." The girl froze. "I didn't think I could go on," he rasped. "But I had this little girl right here." He shifted Emma just enough for the woman to see the small, frightened face looking back at her. "She gave me a reason," Liam whispered. "Maybe you don't have one yet, but you will." "I can't feel my arm," she sobbed. "You're almost there," he groaned. "Just a little more, please." With a final surge of strength, Liam set Emma down on the wet walkway. The child cried, but didn't move. Liam then grabbed the girl with both hands and pulled, groaning, gasping, praying. Her foot caught the railing. Liam grabbed her waist and yanked. She collapsed into him, shaking violently, her sobs ripped away by the wind. He wrapped his arms around her, pulled her close, his entire body trembling from exertion. Emma crawled into his lap, wet and confused. The three of them sat there, huddled under the storm. The girl cried into his chest, broken and breathless. "You saved me," she whispered. "I just reminded you," Liam said softly, his voice raw, "that you're still worth saving." They sat like that for a long moment, three souls soaked and breathless beneath the roar of the rain, heart still beating. Finally, Liam pulled back and looked at her. "We can't stay here," he said gently. "Let's get you warm." She nodded, unable to speak, and together slowly they stood and walked away from the edge. The rain had slowed to a soft drizzle by the time Liam and Aurora reached the covered bus shelter at the end of the bridge. He eased her onto the bench, peeled off his soaked coat, and wrapped it around her trembling shoulders. Emma stirred in his arms, but stayed asleep, warm and dry against his chest. Aurora didn't speak. She clutched the coat tightly, eyes lowered, dripping hair stuck to her cheeks. Liam didn't press. He stood nearby, gently rocking Emma, staring out at the blurred lights of the city. His thoughts drifted, uninvited, to the fire. 1 year ago, sirens howled. Smoke blackened the sky. Flames bled from the windows of a Brooklyn apartment. Liam sprinted toward the building, heart in his throat. Liam, her voice, Sarah's voice. She'd called minutes earlier, smelled smoke, said she was grabbing Emma, just a baby, and heading for the stairwell. Then silence. Liam tore through the halls, choking on smoke, yelling her name, but the third floor had already collapsed. Fire raged between him and their apartment. "Liam, get out. It's coming down." Someone shouted through the radio, but he didn't move. He screamed her name until they dragged him out. She never made it to the door. The coroner said, "Smoke inhalation." Quick, quiet. But nothing about it had felt quiet. For weeks, he couldn't look at Emma without breaking. He quit the fire department, gave away his medals, moved to a cheaper borough, took any job he could, construction, janitorial, delivery, just to keep them going. But the guilt never left. Now looking at the girl in his coat, clinging to it like a life vest, he saw that same hollow weight in her eyes. Silence hung between them, broken only by the wind and the occasional hiss of passing cars. Then softly, Aurora spoke. "My mom died in a car crash when I was 16. Liam turned slightly toward her. "She was everything to me. We used to walk this bridge. She loved the view. Said it was healing to stand between two places." She gave a bitter smile. "After she died, my dad shut down, buried himself in work, cold, mechanical. When I turned 18, he enrolled me in business school without asking. Said I had to take over the legacy." Liam stayed quiet, letting her speak. "I hate business," she said. "I wanted to paint. My mom used to say I had colors in my soul, but he called it useless. Said love was weakness, dreams, distractions." Her voice trembled. "Last month, he told me I was marrying Derek, his partner's son, to strengthen the alliance. I'm 19 and he's marrying me off like a chess move." She wiped at her face with the sleeve of Liam's coat. The rain made it impossible to tell what were tears and what wasn't. "I fought back, told him I couldn't. He said, 'Fine, walk away and you lose everything. The money, the name, the home, gone.'" She looked up, eyes raw. "So, I ran, thought I'd clear my head, ended up on the bridge. All I could think about was how much my mom loved it and how much I hated the life I was being forced into." Liam finally sat beside her. "I'm sorry," he said. She glanced sideways. "You don't even know me." "I don't have to," he replied. "Pain's pain. Doesn't care about background. Doesn't care if you're wearing hand-me-downs or designer boots. It still cuts the same." She let out a shaky breath, part so, part laugh. "People keep telling me I'm lucky. You have everything, Aurora. But I don't feel lucky. I feel invisible. Liam looked at Emma now softly snoring in his lap. You're not invisible, he said gently. You're here right now alive. That counts. Aurora blinked fast, holding back another wave of emotion. You saved me tonight, she whispered. Liam shook his head. No, he said quietly. You saved yourself. I just reminded you it's still possible. They sat in silence again, their burdens between them like fog, dense, heavy, but beginning to lift. For the first time in a long time, neither felt entirely alone. The rain had turned icy by the time Liam flagged down an old taxi and gave the driver an address across town. He didn't take Aurora back to his apartment. It was too cramped, too damp, too full of peeling paint and quiet shame. Instead, he asked for a favor from an old friend, a retired EMT named Joe, who had a small guest room and an open heart. Joe greeted them with raised eyebrows, but no questions. Liam simply said she needs a safe place for the night, and that was enough. Joe led them inside, where the heat hummed low and steady, and gave them a dry towel in a space near the radiator. Aurora sat on the edge of the couch, still wrapped in Liam's coat. Her wet dress clung to her skin, and her hair, though starting to dry, still dripped onto her shoulders. Emma, now wide awake, toddled over and reached for Aurora's hand without hesitation. Cold? The little girl asked with concern far beyond her ears. Aurora blinked, surprised. A little, she admitted. Emma reached up and tugged the towel from her own shoulders, holding it up to Aurora's chest. This will help, she said. Seriously. Aurora laughed, a small cracked sound that somehow felt more genuine than anything she had felt in weeks. She took the towel gently and wrapped it around herself. Thank you, sweetheart. Liam watched them quietly, heart squeezing. He disappeared into the small kitchen, rummaging through Joe's cabinets. He found a chipped teapot, a half-used bag of chamomile tea, and 2 mismatched mugs. It wasn't much, but it was warm. He brought it out a few minutes later, setting the mugs down on the coffee table. I wish it was something fancy, he said, embarrassed. Aurora looked up at him. It's perfect. She took the mug with both hands and held it close, letting the steam rise over her face. Across the room, Emma crawled onto a pile of old blankets and drifted back to sleep, thumb in mouth. Liam sank into the worn armchair beside her. His shirt still wet and clinging to his chest. He made no move to retrieve his coat. You're freezing, Aurora said softly. You should take your coat back. It's okay, he replied. You need it more than I do. She hesitated. It's your only coat, isn't it? Perhaps to a coat he might have encouraged. He didn't answer. Aurora turned her gaze back to the steam curling from her mug. Why did you help me? Liam shrugged, his eyes fixed on the sleeping form of his daughter. Because someone helped me once. After Sarah died, I had no idea how to go on. I was holding a baby and drowning in grief. Joe, this guy who owns the house. He showed up every day, brought food, changed diapers, sat with me when I couldn't talk. Aurora listened quietly. I don't have much, Liam continued. But I know what it's like to feel like you're on the edge. And I know what it means when someone reaches out, even for a moment. She looked at him, really looked at him, at the lines on his face, the dark circles beneath his eyes, the way his hands were calloused and cracked from hard labor. And yet he had given her everything he had tonight without asking for a single thing in return. I thought love meant being needed, she said after a long pause. But my dad, he only needs me when I'm useful, when I'm an asset. Liam shook his head gently. Love isn't about usefulness. It's about presence, about staying, even when it's hard. Especially then. Aurora's eyes welled again, but this time not from pain. Something else. Gratitude. Maybe even hope. She glanced over at Emma, who was snoring softly on her side. "You, too," she whispered. "You feel like the family I never really had." Liam didn't know what to say, so he just nodded, the weight of her words sinking deep. For the first time in a long time, Aurora felt the warmth of something real. Not perfection, not wealth, not appearances, just quiet, selfless kindness in the middle of a storm. And that night, she didn't dream of falling. She dreamed of beginning again. The sun was just beginning to rise when Liam stirred on the worn couch. A dull ache pulsed behind his eyes from the sleepless night. Emma, curled beside him in a nest of blankets, still slept soundly. The house was silent. He glanced around the small room. Aurora was gone. All that remained was a neatly folded towel on the coffee table and a piece of lined paper weighed down by the empty teacup. "Thank you for not letting go, for reminding me I still matter. I needed to feel human again. I'll be okay now." Liam stared at the note for a long time. Something unspoken tightening in his chest. He never learned her last name, never got a number. She had come into his life like a storm and left like the morning mist, fading without a trace. For weeks, he thought about her, wondered if she'd really be okay. Wondered if she found her way back to safety, or if he had only delayed something inevitable. But time moved on. So did he. The winter months were brutal. Work was scarce. Liam took on whatever shifts he could, cleaning basement, repairing drywall, hauling crates in cold storage. His hands bled often. His back ached constantly. But he kept going because of Emma. Always because of Emma. Then one afternoon on a cold February morning, everything changed. It was supposed to be a routine shift, just another day at the construction site in downtown Brooklyn. A few hours in, Liam was up on the second level of scaffolding, helping anchor a steel beam when a rusted bolt gave way. He'd barely had time to shout before the metal frame crumpled beneath him. The fall was short but brutal. When he woke, the world was white. Beeping monitors, the antiseptic sting of hospital air, pain like fire shooting through his side. He groaned, shifting slightly, and a sharp stab in his ribs warned him to stay still. The nurse said he had 4 cracked ribs, a fractured wrist, and a concussion. He was lucky to be alive. Emma had been taken in by Joe temporarily. Liam lay there for days, floating in and out of sleep, surrounded by sterile walls and anonymous voices, until one day a new voice spoke his name. "Ryan." He turned his head slowly toward the doorway. A woman stood there, tall, elegant, her golden hair pulled back into a soft braid. She wore a long cream coat, and in her hands was a bouquet of pale blue hydrangeas. It took him a moment to recognize her, but when he did, his breath caught in his throat. "Aoi," she smiled, nervous, but radiant. "Hey." He tried to sit up but winced immediately. I thought I'd never see you again." "I know," she said gently, walking toward the bed. "I'm sorry I left like that. I needed time, space. I wasn't ready then." Liam watched her, eyes searching. She placed the flowers in a small vase on the bedside table and sat down carefully beside him. "I've been following the news quietly," she said. "I saw your name in an online article. The accident, the fall. I came as soon as I could." Liam blinked. "How did you?" Aurora took a breath. "There's something I didn't tell you that night," she began. "My full name is Aurora Whitmore. My father is Harold Whitmore, the real estate guy." Liam blinked again, unsure he had heard right. Aurora nodded slowly. "Yes, that Whitmore, the skyscraper Whitmore, the jet-setting, Forbes list, not actually a dad Whitmore." Liam was speechless. "I grew up in a world where image was everything," she continued. "And when I broke down, no one noticed until you did. You with nothing but a baby in your arms and the kindness to pull me back from the edge." She leaned closer, voice steady. I never forgot that night, Liam. Not for a second. You saved me. Now it's my turn. His throat was tight. You don't have to. I want to. She interrupted gently. Let me help. Let me be here. Liam exhaled slowly, overwhelmed. Why me? Aurora smiled softly. Because when I had nothing to give, you gave me everything. And because I've never felt more seen than I did that night in the rain. The room fell quiet, but this silence was full of emotion, of memory, of something beginning again. And for the first time since the fall, Liam smiled. The days after Liam's release from the hospital settled into a quiet rhythm, slow mornings, short walks, and the scent of healing. Aurora came often, always with a warm smile, groceries, or something small for Emma. Sometimes she brought art supplies. Other times, soup made from a recipe she called the cook from her childhood home to learn. But more than what she brought, it was how she stayed. Patient, present, never trying to fill silence. Emma adored her. She climbed into Aurora's lap with books, begged to braid her hair, insisted she stay for dinner, even when it was just leftovers. Liam watched all of it with a cautious heart. They took walks through the park, Liam moving slowly with his healing ribs while Aurora pushed Emma's stroller. Spring edged into the city, soft light, new leaves, hope in the air. One afternoon, beneath a budding cherry tree, Aurora asked, "Do you ever think about starting over?" Liam looked down at his scarred hands every day. But it's hard when you're still carrying so much of the past. She nodded. Yeah, I know. What would your version of starting over look like? He asked. She hesitated. A small art studio. Nothing fancy. Just space and color and quiet people who feel too much. He smiled. Sounds perfect. And you? He thought. A backyard with grass. Emma running barefoot. Maybe someone to share it with. Their eyes met just for a moment. Everything stilled. Aurora looked away, smiling softly. That sounds like something worth building. In time, she began to see Liam's world in finer detail. The way he bandaged Emma's scraped knees. The way he reread her favorite book, no matter how tired he was. How he tracked every dollar to keep them going. He never asked for help. Not once. One day, Aurora learned the hospital bill had arrived big, even after insurance. Quietly, without a word, she paid it. Weeks later, she found an envelope. Tucked under her sketchbook. Inside, $45 in crumpled bills and a note for the hospital. I'll pay the rest. I promise. Promise. The next week, another envelope. $60. Then $20. Then $35. Small amounts, sometimes coins, but always something. She never said a word, just quietly cried the day she realized what he was doing. It wasn't the money, it was the message. I will never take advantage of your kindness. He was giving her everything he had, one envelope at a time. One evening, Emma lay beside Aurora on the floor drawing clumsy stick figures. She held up her masterpiece. Cool, Aurora, that's you. This one's Daddy. And me. Aurora smiled. Who are we? A family, Emma chirped. You're my new mommy now, right? The room froze. Liam looked up from the table, eyes wide. Aurora's breath caught. Her eyes welled. She reached out, brushed Emma's hair gently. That's the most beautiful thing anyone's ever said to me, she whispered. Emma hugged her, and kept drawing. Aurora rose slowly, walking to the kitchen, heart racing, her hands trembled. Liam followed. I didn't mean for that, he said gently. She's just a child, Aurora replied, voice cracking. But Liam, I've never felt more like myself than I do here. With her, with you. He stepped closer. Me neither. They stood in a tiny kitchen, surrounded by mismatched dishes and the scent of stew. And yet something unspoken bloomed. We flipped. Honest, real. For the first time since the bridge, Aurora didn't feel lost. She felt like she belonged. The story broke on a Thursday morning. Heiress Aurora Whitmore found living with single father in Brooklyn. The headline blazed across tabloids, gossip blogs, and social media. Paparazzi swarmed the tiny building where Liam and Emma lived. Camera flashes lit up their windows. Voices shouted through the hallway. Questions flew like daggers. Is this a real relationship, Miss Whitmore? Are you funding this man's lifestyle? Is this your rebellion against your father? Liam pulled the curtain shut and locked the door. Aurora stood frozen in the kitchen, staring at her phone, her hands trembling. Her father's name lit up the screen again and again. Then came the knock. She opened the door to find two sharply dressed men, her father's security team. You need to come with us, one of them said. Mr. Whitmore demands your return. Liam stepped forward. She's not a prisoner. The man ignored him. Miss Whitmore, if you refuse, Mr. Whitmore will be forced to take legal action. Aurora hesitated, then turned to Liam, eyes heavy with apology. I'll fix this, she whispered. I just need time. And then she was gone. Within hours, Liam's name was dragged through the mud. Talk shows questioned his motives. Articles appeared online citing sources who claimed Liam had a pattern of getting close to wealthy women. One blog accused him of abandoning his post during the fire that killed his wife. Another alluded to anger issues and questionable parenting. It was all lies, but the damage was real. Job offers disappeared. Contractors stopped calling. Neighbors whispered. Emma, confused by the change, asked why Aurora wasn't coming back. Liam had no answer that would make sense to a toddler. Meanwhile, Aurora found herself back in her father's penthouse, 25 floors above the city, but it felt like a prison. Her phone was taken, her internet access restricted. Her father called it protection. Do you have any idea what you've done to this family? Harold Whitmore fumed, pacing across the marble floor. You've shamed us. You've put yourself at risk. I'm not your asset. Aurora snapped. You don't get to control me. He slammed a glass down on the counter. That man is using you. You don't even know him. I know his type. Poor opportunistic. A man who'd let his daughter live in squalor if it meant milking sympathy. Oh, he's more of a father than you've ever been, she shouted. Her father's face froze. You're grounded, he said coldly until further notice. Aurora's old room was locked from the outside. Her world shrank to four walls and a narrow window, but her fire had been lit, and it would not go out. 3 nights later, rain fell again in the city. At 3:12 a.m. a figure crept through the emergency stairwell of the Whitmore penthouse. Aurora, dressed in a hoodie and jeans, carrying only a backpack, slipped past security, and disappeared into the night. Her hair was damp, her heart pounded, but her resolve was unshakable. Liam was dozing in a chair, Emma asleep in his lap, when he heard the knock. He opened the door cautiously. There she was, soaked, breathless, eyes bright with defiance. Aurora, he whispered, if you'll still have me, she said, I'm here. And if I have to give up everything I have to live a real life, one with truth and love and choices, I will. He stared at her, stunned. I walked away from the money, she said. From the family name, from the security, but I refuse to walk away from you. Liam said nothing. He simply stepped aside. Aurora entered, dropped her bag, and without another word, wrapped her arms around him and Emma. The little girl stirred, and mumbled sleepily, you came back. Aurora kissed her forehead, I did. And in that small cluttered apartment, amid the storm of the outside world, a quieter storm finally settled. They were together again. Not rich, not safe, not certain, but real. And that was enough. The morning Aurora walked into her father's law office. She did not wear a designer coat or expensive heels. She wore jeans, a black t-shirt, and no makeup. Her hair was tied back in a simple braid. The lawyers looked at her with stiff confusion. Harold Whitmore sat at the head of the long table, eyes narrowed. "I'm here to sign it," Aurora said calmly. "Sign what exactly?" her father asked, his tone icy. "The papers," she replied. "To renounce the Whitmore Trust, the inheritance, the family shares, all of it." The room fell silent. "I don't want your money," she said. "Or your name," her father stood abruptly. "Don't be ridiculous. You're angry, not thinking straight." "I'm thinking clearer than I ever have," Aurora interrupted, steady. "I want a life I build with my own hands, not one built on control and conditions." He stared at her, chest rising and falling. "You walk out of this room," he said. "You walk away from everything." Aurora held his gaze. "No, Dad," she said softly. "I'm walking toward something real." She signed the papers and left. In the weeks that followed, Aurora found work at a tiny cafe near Williamsburg, learning to make lattes, clean floors, and handle difficult customers with a smile. She wore an apron instead of pearls, stood on her feet for hours, and came home smelling of espresso. And she had never been happier. Liam worked construction again part-time while watching Emma. Together, they scrimped, saved, and mapped out a plan to open their own cafe, a small cozy spot near the bridge, a place with warm lights, homemade muffins, and space for people to breathe. Aurora painted the walls herself, but Liam rebuilt the counters from old reclaimed wood. Emma named the place Second Chances. It opened quietly with no press or grand unveiling, just neighbors, friends, and the aroma of cinnamon and hope. One Thursday afternoon, the sun was setting in streaks of orange and pink, when a man in a gray suit walked into the cafe. He sat in the back, unnoticed at first. Aurora was near the window, sitting with Emma, teaching her how to hold a brush properly. The little girl giggled, dabbing blue paint across a sheet of paper. "Like this, sweetheart," Aurora said. "Gentle strokes. Let the color tell the story." Emma nodded, focused, tongue poking out in concentration. The man watched them silently. He watched Aurora brush a strand of hair behind Emma's ear. He watched the child lean into her without hesitation. He watched the woman who had once been a chess piece in his empire now glowing with life and freedom. And for the first time in years, Harold Whitmore felt something crack open in his chest. He turned away quickly, pulling a handkerchief from his pocket to dab at his eyes. Then he stood, quietly placed a folded check into the donation jar marked "Pay What You Can Days," and left without a word. Aurora never saw him. But she would find the check later unsigned except for a small note for her color's H. And she would cry, not because she needed the money, but because for the first time she knew her father had truly seen her. 1 year later, the cafe opened its doors. It was a modest place in a renovated brownstone near the Brooklyn Bridge. The sign read "Second Chances," hand-painted in warm gold. Inside, the air was filled with the scent of coffee and quiet chatter. On one wall hung black and white photographs, the bridge in the rain, Liam holding Emma under a street lamp, Aurora smiling through mist. But the soul of the cafe wasn't coffee. It was a corner space where weekly support groups met. Talks, healing circles, quiet listening. Aurora started it herself. Word spread. People came. Emma, now almost 4, darted between tables in a tiny apron, proudly asking, "You want coffee, mister?" On a Thursday morning, Aurora sat on a wooden stool as a group of students gathered around, phones recording. They had come to hear the story of the girl who almost jumped in the cafe that followed. Aurora wrapped her hands around a mug and began. "I stood on that bridge 1 year ago," she said. "I thought I had no choice, that my life wasn't mine anymore." She looked toward the window, the bridge faintly visible. But then through the rain, a stranger appeared, soaked, holding a child in his arms, and he said, "If you live, I'll be the first to thank you." She paused. And I lived. At the back of the room, a man in a gray suit sat alone. He wore dark glasses. On the table in front of him lay a white envelope. Quietly he stood, walked to the donation box, and slipped it in. Inside was a certificate, a sizable gift to the Second Chances Foundation. The signature Whitmore Anonymous. When Aurora turned toward the door, he was gone. But the envelope remained, and she smiled, a quiet, forgiving smile. Weeks later, the bridge became a place of joy. Liam and Aurora were married beneath its steel beams. Fairy lights glowed overhead. Wild flowers lined the walkway. A soft breeze carried the scent of lavender. Liam wore a simple tailored suit. Emma, in a white dress, skipped down the aisle with a small bouquet. Aurora followed barefoot in a flowing white dress, her hair loose over her shoulders. Their hands met as the officiant said, "Here, where a life almost ended, a new one begins." After the ceremony, guests filled the cafe. Laughter, music, toasts. Later, a gray-haired man stepped inside. He moved slowly, kindly. He handed Emma a small wrapped book. She opened it. A story titled Second Chances. Her name written inside. Aurora turned her breath catching. "God." He nodded gently. "I thought legacy meant buildings," he said. "But it's what you've made here. This that truly lasts." They stood quietly. "You don't have to become someone else to make me proud," he added. "You already have. No apology needed." Forgiveness had already found them. That night, after the last guest had gone, Liam and Aurora sat outside the cafe. The bridge lit the skyline behind them. Aurora leaned into him. "If you hadn't stopped me," she whispered. "If you hadn't believed in me," Liam replied, "I wouldn't be here either." Emma ran out barefoot, clutching a cocoa mug. "I love this bridge," she squealed. "I'm going to tell everyone it's the Bridge of Hope." They laughed and they believed her. Some places aren't just where things end. Some are where they begin. Brooklyn Bridge, once nearly the end of a young woman's life, now stood as a symbol of second chances, of love without condition, and of the courage to keep going even through the storm. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that even in our darkest hours, love can still find a way, then you too believe in second chances. At Soul-Stirring Stories, we bring you true-to-life tales that heal, inspire, and remind us all of the beauty in human connection. Subscribe now to join a growing family of hearts that still believe in compassion, resilience, and the quiet power of hope. Click the bell so you never miss a story that just might change your day or your life.